Glass is written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. It stars Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, James McAvoy, and Sarah Paulson. Glass is the third chapter of the M. Night Shyamalan superhero series. So we had the first movie, Unbreakable, which came out in 2000. We had Split, which came out in 2017. And now we have Glass, which came out on Friday. So Glass takes place 19 years after the events of Unbreakable and 3 weeks after the events of Split. So we follow the character Kevin from Split, and like I said, it takes place 3 weeks after, so not much has really changed. Kevin is still a person who has 23 personalities, and he abducts young women so that he can prey on them. And there's specific reasons why, but if you haven't seen Split, I don't want to spoil it. But in any case, David Dunn from Unbreakable is a superhero who is trying to track down this person, and after an encounter, they're both sent to a mental hospital where Mr. Glass is, Samuel L. Jackson's character from Unbreakable. And all these three characters are visited by this doctor who tries to convince them that superheroes don't really exist and that this is all in their mind. And as this is going on, something sinister might be going on with Mr. Glass's character. What is he planning? And how is David Dunn and Kevin from Split going to interact? And what's all this chaos that's going to happen? So this is a movie I was very excited for. If you had seen my top 10 most anticipated films of 2019 video, you would know that this is my second most anticipated film of the year. I was so excited for it. Unbreakable for me is one of the most underrated films of all time. Like, that movie is literally a 10 out of 10. It's a superhero film, but it's a realistic, slow drama that I thought was just a great movie in general. And Split was very good with a phenomenal performance by James McAvoy. It was a very good thriller. And then when they reveal at the end that it was actually a sequel to Unbreakable, I was very excited to see how this movie would turn out. So after seeing Glass, I have to say this is a movie that I really want to talk about, because not only was I really excited for it, but the reactions were kind of interesting, because this movie has a low score on Rotten Tomatoes, has like a 36%, and essentially everyone I know has like a different opinion. You know, there are people who love it, people who hate it, people who are very mixed on it. It seems like everyone has a different take on it. So I'm here to tell you my take, obviously, and my take is that I thought Glass was very good. I liked it a lot. I don't think it's perfect, but for me, the positives easily outweighed the negatives, and I thought it was a very good conclusion to a movie that came out 19 years ago. So let's talk about what I liked about this movie. For one, the performances. The performances from everyone is fantastic. Starting off with Bruce Willis. Now, Bruce Willis is an actor that I do like. However, for the past couple of years, I feel like he's kind of been just winging it. You know, like a lot of these performances, he's kind of just sleepwalking and not really trying as hard. But with this movie, he's very good. It's one of his best performances in years. And you can see that he puts in a lot of effort in the character, and he has a lot of conflict with his character. Like, he knows what he wants to do, but he knows that things are hard and that you know, he has other things to deal with. And you can see how Bruce Willis conveys those emotions, and you get to see him go through other things. Well, that more pertains to Unbreakable, but in this movie, especially like the first 15 to 20 minutes, he was great. Samuel L. Jackson as Mr. Glass, or Elijah Price, I think he's one of the best villains of all time, honestly, especially in Unbreakable, when you find out who that character really is and how they, you know, kind of expand his character a little bit more in this movie. They did a really good job. And Samuel L. Jackson, even though he's not in it as much as you can expect, when he's on screen, he's great. And he has some great scenes in here too. And it's kind of hard to talk about it without spoilers. It's going to be spoiler free, I promise. But just know that he has a couple of great scenes in this movie, and you're going to like it. But the standout for me, James McAvoy. Wow. I'm not even exaggerating when I say this, but he is worthy of an Oscar nomination in this film. And I know it's only January. Is it going to happen? No, but it's a shame. In Split, I thought he was absolutely terrific. But in this movie, he is even better. He knocked it out of the park. Now, in this movie, we get to see more of his personalities, because in Split, even though they revealed he had 23, we only saw a select few. But in this movie, we saw a lot more than that. And I thought the way they handled that, and how he was able to be one person, and then like the next second, he's like another person that's the entire opposite, I thought he pulled that off magnificently. So all props to James McAvoy. And he has a lot more to do in this movie too. So they do expand upon his character, expand more upon his past, and I thought that was great. His character is so interesting, and that's all I can really say without spoiling it. Sarah Paulson, I thought she was a nice addition as well. She's a very good actress, and she does a very good job in this movie. Her character, I'm going to go into it just a little bit later on, but with what she's given with and how she acts, I thought she did very good. Another thing I liked, I thought the direction was great as well. Very good cinematography. There's a lot of shots, a lot of wide shots of characters. Like there's one famous shot that was on posters. You can see Samuel L. Jackson's character, James McAvoy, and Bruce Willis, and just that one shot with them in the purple room. I think it's a really nice shot. There are some action scenes that are really well filmed, and the cinematography also adds it benefits the action scenes more in that way too. And there's a couple of long takes as well that are really well done. I don't want to go into it more, but there's one shot of Samuel L. Jackson and James McAvoy. They're in a basement, and Samuel L. Jackson is wheeling away. And as he's, because he's in a wheelchair in the movie, and as he's wheeling away, there's like chaos in the back. And I thought that shot was just really cool. I thought it was a really cool long take. And there are little things like that. And there's a lot of POV shots, which I know some people were complaining about. I didn't mind them personally. I thought they worked for the movie. And yeah, I think from a technical standpoint, this movie is very good. And I thought M. Night did a really good job with that. And he also incorporated flashbacks. And in this case, he used unused scenes from Unbreakable, which I thought was really clever. And then I thought those scenes were actually impactful and that they added a lot to the movie with that scene. Again, it's hard to really not talk about it with spoilers, but when you see the movie, you know exactly what I mean. I promise you. I was engaged with the story as well. This is a very different movie than what I expected. Now, I kind of expected, I guess, more of a superhero film than what Unbreakable was, and it kind of was, but it does have a lot of the same pacing as Unbreakable, and some of the pacing of Split, which I thought worked really well. And there's some directions that you may or may not be on board. That really depends on you. But for me, for the most part, I really liked the different directions that M. Night Shyamalan took. Some directions I did not expect it to take. One thing I should add is that Bruce Willis' son, who was also in Unbreakable, he's in this movie too, and he does a great job. And I liked what they did with his character and all that stuff. I thought he was a nice addition to this movie as well. And yeah, I just thought overall it was really well done. The movie is 2 hours and 10 minutes long, but I wasn't really that bored with it. If anything, I wouldn't have minded if it was longer. Yeah, I thought the payoff was good. You know, the third act is what seems to be dividing people the most, and for the most part, I liked it. That's all I really have to say in terms of positives. I was intrigued with the story. I loved the performances. I thought the cinematography and direction were great. Yeah, I'm very pleased with all those departments. In terms of some of the problems I do have with this movie, the first problem that I do have is, unfortunately, my most disappointing aspect of the movie, which is there is unfortunately a lack of an arc for David Dunn's character. Now, I thought the first 15 to 20 minutes, they did an amazing job showing you what has his character been up to for the past 19 years and how he is with his son and what he's been doing. I thought M. Night Shyamalan and the character Bruce Willis, I thought they nailed that to a T. But unfortunately, as the movie goes along, he's kind of a side character, and you don't get to see him as much. And yes, I know there are other characters in the movie that need to have their own screen time, but it's like he's not really given much to do. And there's something that happens in the third act that I'm not going to spoil, but then you're kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that, because maybe if he had an arc and if they made him a little more relevant in the movie, then maybe I would feel a little differently with how this, event turned out. But unfortunately, there's just not much they did with David Dunn, and that was by far the most disappointing thing for me. And what they do instead is they focus a little more on Sarah Paulson's character. Now, I like her in the movie, but unfortunately, a lot of her scenes felt the same. Now, the first couple of scenes where she's talking with the characters, I thought were very interesting and well done. But after a while, it kind of got monotonous. And I'm like, she's cool, but I'd rather be focused on David Dunn and what you can do with him. And that was just the most disappointing factor for me. And another problem I had with it, too, was that while the pacing was good, well, okay, here's what I'll say. 2 hours and 10 minutes long, I wasn't bored. But here's the thing. This movie has both the pacing of Unbreakable and Split. Now, Unbreakable and Split, even though they're in the same universe, they're both very different movies, which means the pacing for both are different. So sometimes you'll get a pacing for the Unbreakable or a pacing for Split, And sometimes it works, and sometimes it felt a little jarring. Like, I didn't know if it wanted to follow the pace of Unbreakable or follow the pace of Split. There's only like a few scenes where it felt a little jarring to me. But other than that, that's pretty much the problems I have with it. I think overall it's a movie that you might expect going in thinking of one thing, but it ends up being something different. And there's a lot of because a lot of superhero films follow a certain formula and how they play out, but this movie kind of spins it on its head and takes you into something different, which I appreciated and admired M. Night Shyamalan for. And yeah, it's a superhero movie, but it's more realistic than like MCU films. Now, yeah, obviously there's some fantasy elements to it, but it's more like, what if superheroes existed today? How would they act? And I think he kept that theme from Unbreakable, which I appreciated in particular. So overall, I liked Glass a lot. Yes, I know it has a 36% on Rotten Tomatoes. I know there are people on Letterboxd saying it's the worst film of the year. I'm on the opposite side. I really enjoyed the movie. Is it perfect? No. But for me, like I said, I thought the positives outweighed the negatives, and I'm going to give it an A minus. I think it's a really good movie. Now, here's what I have to say. If you're highly anticipating this movie, but you're skeptical because of the reviews, I would say go see it anyway, because there's a good chance that you might think differently from other people, because everyone seems to have a different opinion. Like, I have friends who also really enjoyed the film. I have other friends who were disappointed by it. And yeah, just everyone on the map seems to have a different opinion on it. So, and I like when movies do that, when audiences are divided, because it's nice to have interactions with people who have different opinions than you have, when it comes to films. And this movie seemed to have had the effect of having people, have different perspectives of it, which is pretty cool in my opinion. So yeah, Glass gets an A minus. I really liked it. I think it's a very good movie. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. Maybe I would appreciate some things more or catch some things I didn't see the first time. I don't know. But yeah, very good movie. And that's my review of Glass. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, guys, I'm Diego Coria. I'll see you later. Have a good one.